What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects, PLD Views. It's been a few weeks. I know I've been falling behind. I apologize. Been a very busy couple of weeks for me, work-wise, as well as other projects-wise. We're going to try to get back and do this a little more consistency. With a little more consistency, hopefully you'll stick with me. I'm going to get through a lot of stuff, though. Still got the weekly series to finish. Still got to get back into the character database. That will be upcoming. Not going to be touching on that too much today still, as I want to wait through a few more episodes to really get into a few more of those characters that we have. Still not hit that sweet spot where we have the characters go into the right places in the synopsises of the shows that we are actually covering, or the media we are actually covering here. Today, we were talking about episode 10 in season 1, titled The Conversion. Now, it's written by Brian Taggart. It's directed by Gilbert Shilton, and it was originally aired January 4th of 1985. That's right, we're into 85. The weekly series was 84 to 85, so we're into that next part. This was an interesting episode overall. The season, as you know, as I've kind of made reference to, the original miniseries was a phenomenal piece of television. The final battle was definitely a fun sequel, and the weekly series had its moments. It ended up being a little bit of a crash and burn towards the end, and we're going to get there. We're going to get to where it crashes and burns. At this point, it's still kind of in that middling range. It has some great moments in it, still a lot of fun moments in it, even if there are some, like, a lot of WTF moments as well, and that's where you start losing some of the hardcore fans. Some of it was for budgetary reasons that I could almost understand more. Some of it's just for silly reasons, silly things they do, really detract from the overall horror that was originally part of the original miniseries. The original miniseries really made you feel oppressed by the visitors, scared of the visitors. They become a lot less threatening in the weekly series. Part of the problem, I feel. But that's more of the overall. We're still with the Howard K. Smith updates in the beginning, like I always talk about. Money for what the Howard K. Smith is the newscaster from the time. It was a great segment they always have in the beginning of the episode, where they talk about the resistance war against the visitors that's going on throughout the planet, getting a little bit of a tackle from different sides, different parts of the country. This time they talked about the war in Tulsa and the Grand Canyon, and then give the Medal of Valor to Dixie Riley, another one of the must be a producer's son or neighbor, janitor, I don't know who it is. Somebody just happened to be on by. They always have these random pictures of, no idea where they're from. But he's given a great Medal of Valor for being a science teacher from Tennessee who used his home computer to hack into the visitor security system. Shades of Independence Day, even before V is written. Independence Day always rips off V, as you'll find out. Ferris Madonna, good to see you, my friend. Always happy to have a friend in the chat. I go live and not expecting anybody to actually come to see me live at this point, given the time I usually record these, but it's a lot easier than just uploading it later on. But it's good to see you, Ferris. So what we got going on here? This week's episode has the aliens capturing Ham, Tyler, and Kyle Bates right away from the beginning. We open up with Ham and Kyle and a token. If it was Star Trek, it'd be a red shirt. They are looking to the converter is being moved to the legation. So Ham and Kyle have to go and supposedly destroy it, sabotage it, whatever. They make a big deal at the beginning that they didn't have time to prepare. They didn't have a lot of backup, and Ham wants to rush it anyway and take care of it. Sure enough, the red shirt gets killed in some kind of trap. Ham and Kyle are captured and brought to the mothership. That picture right away. Start getting the pictures there. Brought forward to see Diana. Diana orders Ham to be killed immediately and orders Kyle to be taken into prisoner so she can talk with Nathan Bates. Of course, they want to kill him quite wet with the uneasy alliance that is formed between Diana and Nathan Bates. It's an interesting spot. Donovan finds out from Chris. Chris is pissed. Chris is pissed that they went off, and Donovan's even more pissed. It's just really interesting scenario where Donovan's chewing Chris out for not stopping him. Yeah, well, episode is actually a Ham-centric episode, which is what I like about that. I'll get into some of it as well. We learned last episode about Ham's family in Vietnam. He never found his wife and his daughter, but he lets a little bit into Ham's psyche, which is kind of a cool aspect of the character. One of the coolest things about the weekly series, we did get to know a little bit more. The other big news that happens in this episode, the introduction of Charles and the resurrection of Lydia. Lydia returns. Yes, she all of a sudden, it's like 2 episodes later, I believe it is, she comes back. We learn that she's a decoy. That the shuttle that exploded, that Diana set the mothership's lasers on, was a decoy. It's not a very long time to have Lydia gone, so her return wasn't exactly dramatic, too dramatic, because it was like you just left, didn't have time to miss you. But you need to have her back. I understand that. The big introduction is Charles. Now, I don't know if you can let that sink in. If anybody's here from the 80s, Charles and Diana. Yeah, they went that like that non-subtle, they hammer over the head kind of time. I don't. I don't know why they're going that way. I really don't. I wish I knew otherwise, but they decided to be that blatant about it. But Charles comes in. He is supposedly an envoy for the leader, a very military genius, reportedly, and he's been placed in charge now over Diana because of Diana's blunders over the years, as reported by Lydia. And Lydia is now in charge of Diana. So it's basically Charles, Lydia, Diana. Of course, Diana is set back to the science officer like she was in the original miniseries and for most of the final battle as well. The problem, of course, is that Diana is not really going to be satisfied with that. So it does set up an interesting power triangle. Theoretically, this is actually kind of a cool little addition to the dynamics aboard the mothership. You have shifting between Diana and Lydia. Charles adds a whole new dynamic to it. I like that aspect of it. I just wish it wasn't Charles and Diana, because that whole part just ruins it for me the whole time. It's a hard time not laughing at Charles and Diana. But same time, Charles ixnays Diana's killing of Hamtyler, deciding he's going to make this grandiose plan to get the resistance, get back the resistance, and win the war quickly by killing off resistance leaders and breaking their spirit. It's a little convoluted plan. The plan basically involves, again, converting someone, bringing them someone to their side, and having Hamtyler shoot Mike Donovan during a negotiation sequence that happens later on. Charles does do a conversion to Hamtyler. Now, I mentioned that the original conversion process shown in V: The Final Battle with Julie was very high-tech, very cool, very horrifying sequence. It was really kind of a cool thing to witness. And then they went in the weekly series and they tried to convert the Jacob, who was the alien sympathizer, and it was so low-tech and such bullshit that it wasn't even like worth watching. It really wasn't. It was cheapened, worsened experience. It was like a few buttons pushed and that was it. They bring it back up. Charles, they said that Charles has increased or improved the technicians, improved the conversion process. They do something a little more cool. Same basic setup. It's still a chair, but they have video screens and they show you going into the psyche of Hamtyler, which adds to the family aspect. We get to learn more about that. So it's still like very low tech compared to the miniseries, but we get to see this whole process at work where Charles makes Donovan into a bad guy. We always know that Donovan, and at least to Ham's perspective, Donovan and Ham have always never really seen eye to eye. They kind of have this grudging respect for each other, but they really are on opposite ends of the spectrum on most everything. So they use some of that, anger at each other or whatever you want to call it, this little competitiveness with each other against them, and make Ham believe that Donovan's a bad guy. They have Donovan in there pushing along the humans' food for the visitors, working for the visitors. It's kind of a weird thing. Like I don't know how they converted with the drugs they use and the whatever they use, their lights and magic powers, but they kind of like brainwash Ham into thinking that they use Ham's wife and daughter. You get to actually see them, even though they're not really there. It's all part of this process, and Donovan's got them. There's this big, long deal, but you get to see Michael Ironside do a pretty good job acting-wise. It's a pretty cool sequence. Now, during this, there's a great little cat and mouse game where Diana lets it slip to the Resistance that Lydia was coming to Earth. So the Resistance gets to capture Lydia, which ends up working well for Charles, too, because that's where the whole negotiation takes place. They're going to exchange prisoners, Kyle Bates for Lydia, and that's how the whole rigmarole goes down. They have to decide where they're going to do it, how they're going to meet, what's going to happen. Of course, Charles has to work with Nathan Bates. That kind of setup is great because it's Nathan Bates' son that's being exchanged, so they can kind of use that to their advantage. The Resistance can kind of half believe that Nathan might be able to be up, maybe not on the up and up, but not wanting to harm Kyle, etc. It's a cool little sequence there. There's other sequences that are a waste of time. I gotta admit, there's a whole sequence where Kyle's on the mothership. Diana comes and has to seduce him again. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It was all this ridiculous nonsense. It just basically sets up so that Kyle can escape by the hill. She lets him free. to do something, and then she just leaves them back. The guard comes in, Kyle knocks him out, and goes to the mothership. I gotta tell you, the mothership is very easy to sneak around in the weekly series. The mini series before was a lot harder to sneak around. But Kyle does get caught again, but so it's like no real reason this happens. It's just like we need time filler. Not a good call there, but at this point, they basically set up this whole negotiation to take place. They let Ham be recaptured by the resistance, or actually, I'm sorry, I take that back as a correction. The idea was they're going to let him go, but the resistance heard about Ham coming down to Earth, so they spring Ham after Ham proves to Nathan Bates that Donovan is going to be the one that's shot on live TV. It's just big to do there. But this is the one scene that really pisses me off. Pisses me off is a strong word, but I look back, I'm like, what the fuck is this? In order to break Ham out, they have Willie dressing up as a rat, like a giant rat mascot, and giving out free rats to the visitors. And Willie's saying, oh, they will be able to resist. And sure enough, the truck with the prisoner stops to get free rats from Willie, and they end up breaking him out. What the fuck is that? I mean, come on, really? I mean, even as a kid, I was a little bit put off this. Nowadays, like in these days, it's pretty ridiculous overall. That's the worst sequence, though. And I guess that's what I say about this whole episode and a lot of the weekly series. There's a lot of cool moments, but they're just offset by this nonsense that doesn't make much sense. At this point, they decide to set up a prisoner exchange. Like I said, at this abandoned arena where the resistance can really set up their own home feed. They can broadcast the world, the resistance side of things. The visitor can broadcast what they want seen. They're trying to make this into a situation where nobody can escape each other, or rather betray each other. But this leads to some other great acting from Michael Ironside's. He gets to sit down. He has his conversion process that's going on through his head. He has this good conversation with Julie, who's been through it. It's a good moment of characterization that's not seen very often during the weekly series. And it's from a character we don't get to know very much about. So I really commend that part of the series. Very honestly, I'm bullshitting part of it, but I'm also giving props to some of the really cool moments. So the big action sequence happens at the end of the episode. They all get there. Ham is triggered by Charles's conversion process and Nathan Bates' dial-up to shoot at Donovan. Again, this is where the weird part comes in. Elizabeth is there. Elizabeth all of a sudden senses something's going on. Yay, Deus Ex Machina again with Elizabeth, always there to save the day. She recognizes it, sends a lifeline, and Ham ends up missing Donovan and shoots Nathan Bates, which is going to set up a big series-changing moments. It kind of drags on for a couple of episodes or so, but Nathan Bates is injured. We think possibly dead. We don't know for sure, actually. Kyle's all upset, but Donovan gets Kyle and Julie out of there. And they're all trying to, hell's breaking loose. The resistance get Kyle. The visitors get Lydia back on board. And so at the end of the day, not much happens. There's big Donovan action shot. There's bombs going off everywhere. Resistance are firing back, and Donovan has this heroic moment where he's the last man in there, of course, as he always is. It's a cool sequence. Charles' mission fails, though, because Donovan doesn't die. So here it is, Charles' first big mission, and he still fails just like Diana did. But at the same time, there's a cool thing going on. Nathan Bates being put up that changes the dynamic of the visitor-human relationship. We don't know what's going to go after this. This is actually a cool kind of cliffhanger, because as bad as Nathan Bates has been, as much of an asshole as he's been, someone we don't like, he was the one standing between the visitors and total domination, total like war. There's the open city concept, which was cool on paper. Maybe at this time, the showrunners were maybe understanding that it wasn't as good as you would think, because quite frankly, again, I said it before, I'll say it again, it kind of takes away the fear of the visitors. It's not as oppressive. It's not as scary if everybody just walking side by side. Then there's occasionally a gunfight between the resistance and the visitors. It's not quite what you want at that point. At this point in the war, especially after the final battle, it was all out war. So here we are at the end of this. We have a possibly new status quo. We don't know what's going to go on with Nathan. He might be dead, but the resistance are all back together. The visitors are back together with a new leader in place, Charles. It's an interesting dynamic. So there's cool stuff going on. Overall, I did like the episode. Again, I had a hard time getting over some of the stupid shit. And that's the thing that really kind of tanked the series. It gets to be harder to take serious when you got the Charles and Diana. You got this weird rat thing. It's just you wish that they could do better with that, and see where it goes down. I guess that'd be a time where how can you really take it completely seriously, as many, especially when you compare it to the original, which is completely serious, completely on board the whole time. Even if it wasn't subtle about the rising fascism, it still was a very powerful. This is not powerful. A lot of this isn't powerful anymore. It's kind of got moments of potential. You see these moments where it's, oh, that could be really cool if they explore that. This is something we could explore more. This is something we could have, and that fits. I wish you could just kind of go back, take some of the elements out, make it a little more serious. Again, this is missing Kenneth Johnson's touch. I think that's what it is. At this point, they're looking for ratings. Are throwing a lot up against the wall to see what's going to stick, and it ends up not working. You can kind of see where it's starting to go downhill. I do like this episode. I mean, a lot of this is based on nostalgia for me, so you might not like it as much as I do. The Donovan Ham stuff are always cool. Is always cool, and the action sequences are still pretty cool overall. I still like a lot of the action sequences, but at the end of the day, it's decent. Could be worse. Could be better. But that's where we're going to end today. I don't want to go into any more character database again. I also want to. You might want to me to talk about Charles. I will in a couple episodes. I do want a couple more things to happen before I don't want to spoil anything if I go into the whole character database. But at the end of the day, it's a good episode. We'll be back hopefully next week. I'm trying to make this a weekly thing. Hopefully as things calm down a little bit for me. I do want to eventually get into the books and the comics and the ABC reimagining of it. If you have any questions, you can leave in the comments. I'm always happy to answer any questions you have about the show, about my channel, about this particular show, anything else you want to see about V, about this, or anything. I swear I'm getting closer on debuting the Harris Nas, which is I'm going to take you guys through the Ed Harris oeuvre bit by bit. I'm going to actually go through a lot of things planned for that as far as the walk through that. Hopefully that'll come soon. I'm getting really close on it. I know I've been saying that for a while, but it is coming. But you can also find me on the Action Industries YouTube channel with Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, where I do a class action every week where I put up one movie against another, actor versus actor, character versus character, director versus director. We have a spirited debate about that. Please like and subscribe here if you like. Let me know what you think. And I have Streamlabs. If you want to open that up, I'll always read out Streamlabs as I get them. If they're doing through the week, I'll answer the next time I go live. I also might go live on next Thursday. I could possibly go live on Thursday, which is a couple days away, after the general debate on Action Industries channel. Sometimes I just hang out with some friends, and there's a lot of cool things we talk about there too. Well, that's it for now. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your viewership, your sponsor. Hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy giving it to you. So otherwise, until later next time, Pretanam, everybody. Take care of yourself, and have a great day.